Top of the hour, let's begin with the investigation that is also coming up on the Morbi tragedy. As far as the local court there has sent 4 of the 9 arrested accused to police custody and 5 others to judicial custody. Now, the public prosecutor has maintained that the contractors hired for the maintenance job by the private Ajanta Oreva were not even qualified engineers. And as far as the contract that was signed between the Morbi municipality and the private firm Ajanta Oreva, as far as the maintenance of this said suspended cable bridge is concerned, that was to be done in 8 to 12 months but was prematurely reopened to the public within 5 months. The wooden flooring that was replaced with aluminium flooring that increased the weight, adding pressure on the cables. And that is what the Deputy SP also told the court, that there was no evacuation arrangement that was put in place. There were no life-saving kits that were put in place. And as far as the money of the tickets is concerned, that was to subsequently increase in the years to come. The entire profit was to go to the commercial company, the private firm Ajanta Oreva, and the government had no say in it when it comes to the ticket price. So as far as 17 rupees is concerned, that is the cost of life of 135 people who lost their lives in this tragedy. 9 of those people who have been now taken into custody have been arrested, are mainly staffers, and even when it comes to the people who were looking after the said bridge. But we are told, as far as the owner is concerned, he's not been even named in the FIR. Arunil, good morning. What are we picking up in the ongoing investigation?
Well, in the local Morbi court, the accused were produced late evening, and 4 of them have been sent to police custody, 5 of them to the judicial custody. Now, the public prosecutor has mentioned inside the courtroom, basically saying that the contractors who were given the job, they were not even qualified engineers. Now, why this is paramount is because the public prosecutor has also mentioned that the only work that was done on the bridge was of changing the flooring of the bridge. The bridge flooring was wooden earlier. It was changed to aluminium. However, that also increased the weight of the bridge, weight on the cables. The cables were not changed as per that was required, because the last renovation of the bridge that was done was in 2007. The cables were not changed, only they were painted over the existing cables. That basically change of the flooring increased the pressure on the bridge. The screws were not changed, the bolts were not changed, the cables were not changed, and that may have led to this heart-wrenching mishap. That is what the public prosecutor has maintained. The cops were also there in the courtroom. They also mentioned about the same thing, saying that proper due diligence was not being followed. The public company Oreva Ajanta had time till December, January to complete the maintenance, but they hastily opened up the bridge, considering it was Diwali time and Gujarati New Year. Extremely baffling, startling, and shocking details coming to the fore. We have been reporting about all these details. One more shocking thing that was mentioned was the manager basically saying in the courtroom, the manager who was arrested, saying that it was like an act of God. But this clearly didn't look like an act of God, because there are some glaring loopholes that are coming to the fore at present. The owners were also discussed inside the courtroom. The owner, Jaisukh Patel, is still absconding since this horrendous incident.
Absolutely. But Arunil, who are those people who have been taken into police custody and judicial custody? Because they were mainly staffers, that we are told, of Oreva firm and others who were, in the maintenance, who were responsible for that. But when it comes to the top brass, who've not even been named in the FIR, but when it comes to the investigation that is being conducted, who's been sent to the police custody and who's been to judicial custody?
The main contractors have been sent to police custody. Their police custody was desperately being sought by the local police. The contractors who exactly were not engineers, who were responsible for the renovation work and the maintenance of the said cable bridge. The maintenance was not done properly, and we have been speaking about it, about the rules that were being flouted by these contractors. they basically only changed the wooden flooring to aluminium flooring without bothering about the weight of the cable, and they have to this collapse. So these are people who have been sent to police custody, whereas the other people who were there, like ticket sellers, etc., others who were arrested from the Oreva group, they have been sent to the judicial custody. Now, another important point that was discussed inside the courtroom, Amita, was about the security guards, security personnel. What were they doing when so many people gathered on the bridge? Clearly,
when it comes to the overcrowding, that has been also one of the reasons. But when it comes to the commercial profit, that is being also amounted with the ticket pricing. That was subsequently increasing over the years, and all of the profit, whatever tickets and the increase, that was decided by the private firm, and all of the profits had to go to the private firm itself. There was no say of the government in this. But let's talk about the lapses in detail, because lapse one, the contractors were not qualified engineers itself. So this is what the police has been saying in the local Morbi court. Lapse 2, it was only wooden flooring that was replaced by aluminium flooring that actually increased the weight and the pressure on the cables. Let's talk about the lapse third. The third lapse that we are also looking at, as the cables of the bridge were not changed at all. So it remained the old cables that were not maintained. We are talking about a bridge that is over 130 years old. The cables of the bridge were neither oiled, neither greased. So that increased the pressure. Aluminium flooring that was put in place, and the amount, the sheer weight of the people that we're looking at, over 100 of the people who were present on top of that bridge, they fell to their death immediately. The wooden flooring was replaced by aluminium flooring. So this is being said, as far as the weight of the bridge is concerned, that increased dramatically. Aluminium flooring added the pressure on the cables as well. The capacity, what was being said, were around 80 to 100 people at one time, but the numbers had tripled at the time of the tragedy. There was no evacuation arrangement that was put in place, because on both sides we were looking at how people were entering and they were leaving the bridge. They were there present on the bridge. No life-saving kits were also in place. So the people had nowhere to go. They were in the middle of the suspended cable bridge, right on top of the river, and when the cable partially collapsed, the bridge partially collapsed, the people there fell to their death. And we are looking at over 135 people who have lost their lives. Majority of them, if we look at over 40, that included mainly children and women as well who have lost their lives. It was Prime Minister Narendra Modi who yesterday went to meet the victims and the survivors, and he took into account their pain and their grief as well. But let's talk about the ongoing investigation that is taking place, because as far as the owner of the Ajanta Oreva is concerned, he's not even been named in the FIR. The FIR that has been talking about the collapse, that has very stringent measures and sections and charges that have now been leveled. But that conspicuously doesn't mention Jaisukh Patel, because Times Now have been showing you how the newly inaugurated, renovated bridge, Ajanta Oreva chairman Jaisukh Patel claimed that nothing will happen to this bridge for 8 to 10 years. But what happened in 4 days when the bridge was reopened to the public, that's for everyone to see, with over 130 lives that have been lost.
આ જે રિનોવેશન કરેલું છે એ અમારી દ્રષ્ટિએ જે રીતે અમે ટેકનિકલ સ્પેસિફિકેશન અને જે બધું છે એના મુજબ 8 થી 10 વર્ષ સુધી આ બ્રિજને કંઈ નહીં થઈ શકે. આ જે રિનોવેશન કરેલું છે એ અમારી દ્રષ્ટિએ જે રીતે અમે ટેકનિકલ સ્પેસિફિકેશન અને જે બધું છે એના મુજબ 8 થી 10 વર્ષ સુધી આ બ્રિજને કંઈ નહીં થઈ શકે.
All right, so moments after the collapse, there is another video that has been accessed by Times Now. There on your screens, the visuals of the moments after the collapse of the Morbi bridge that happened, where people can be seen trying to swim to their safety, while others can be seen clinging to the cables to save their lives. And this is happening as far as the partially that the bridge had collapsed, and there was wiring and netting that was placed in the remaining part of the bridge. The people were holding on to their life, but the others who managed to swim to the shores, they were saved. But the others, majority of them who weren't able to, that included a lot of women and children, they drowned. And those pictures that are coming in right moments after the bridge collapse, because earlier there were CCTV footages that have also been accessed. The moment of the bridge collapse that happened, people there on the bridge, overcrowded bridge, over way beyond its capacity of 80 to 100 people. Eyewitnesses there, the survivors there have been saying that could be possibly over 300 people present at the same time on the bridge. And look at those pictures. You can see a lot of people there right in the middle of the Machchhu river trying to save themselves, trying to swim to the shores. And it was only few, unfortunately, who knew how to swim. And there were locals as well who turned heroes. Arunil, locals there who had turned heroes in a bid to save the lives of the people who had fallen in the river. New video coming up.
Well, that is right, Amita. Basically, this is an extremely heart-wrenching and a desperate situation, you see. And it also reflects how life can be, because these were the people who were having a very joyful time on that iconic bridge, clicking videos, clicking selfies of each other, clicking pictures of each other, having a good time. But just when the bridge collapsed, the cable bridge collapsed, you can see they are inside above the river floor, basically trying to cling to the cable wire of the bridge, as well as many of them have fallen inside the river also. They are desperately trying to swim themselves to safety. Very heart-wrenching situation. This video is immediately after the bridge collapse, and as you rightly pointed out, there were many locals who put their own life at risk. They basically swam to these people to save them. However, unfortunately, till now, 135 innocent lives have been lost, and many of them, Amita, are vulnerable people, basically young kids, around 1/3 of them, senior citizens, as well as many women who could not swim.
Absolutely. This is yet another video that has been accessed moments after the collapse. We have two videos as far as the moment of the collapse. When the collapse happened, the CCTV footages that have been accessed, and this is right after. It was between 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. That is when this tragedy occurred, and you can see many people there right in the middle of the deep river as they are trying to save themselves, because they didn't know the bridge collapse happened in seconds, Arunil, and they were completely unaware of the situation that's going to happen with them. There were hundreds of people on top of that bridge, the suspended bridge, and this is right after, the moments right after the bridge collapse. You can see many of those people who are trying to cling on whatever that they can find, and many of them you can see in those suspended cable wires. Many of them are trying to grab the cable wires to save themselves from drowning till the time help arrives, but there were no safety kits that were available at all, no safety measures, and clear exit points that were mentioned when it comes to this bridge that was being maintained by a private firm. But the ticketing is something that was already taken into account, because what is being said, according to the survivors, that over 500 to 700 tickets were sold at a mere price of 17 rupees, the entire profits that went to the private firm. So over 700 tickets that were sold to the people there who had just come to enjoy the weekend right after the festivities, and they didn't know that they won't be going back home. And this is the moments right after the collapse that had happened. And the biggest challenge as far as the rescue teams is concerned was the darkness. Because right after night fell, it became extremely difficult to locate the people and to search for those who have been missing. And it was over 24 hours when it comes to the search and rescue operations that continued with the NDRF and the SDRF, and even when it comes to the defense forces, 7 deep divers of the Navy that were deployed, as they had been saying, till the last person has been retrieved. They will still continue. They will still continue to look out for that person. So there on your screens, as we are looking at those pictures coming in, this is right after the collapse of the bridge. The bridge collapse that happened between 6:30 to 6:40 p.m. that evening, that fateful Sunday evening. We are looking the moments that those suspended cables that you can see, and you can see a bunch of people. This is the maximum part. This is where the bridge had partially collapsed. So you can see the netting and the cable wires that have been suspended, and people are trying to cling on whatever that they can find. But the other majority of the people, this is right in the middle of the Machchhu river. There you can see There you can see a lot of heads there as the people are trying to swim to their safety because they didn't know, and majority of them over 45 we are told were just children, women who didn't know how to swim. But others less fortunate who had drowned in the river. There were other victims as well who were hanging on to their dear life while clinging on to the cable wires. Such is the scenario that is now being mentioned. Right after the moments of the collapse, we have two videos. The moment of the collapse that happened, the CCTV footages, and this is yet another video that is being shared right after the collapse that happened of the Morbi bridge. So you can see, we've just paused the clip. So you can see whatever is manageable here to see as far as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There are multiple heads. There are multiple heads. This is right in the middle of the deep Machchhu river when the bridge collapse happened. And they didn't know what to do. You can see a lot of people here. Lot of people here. Till the time this was the bridge. This entire area was the bridge that was covering the bridge. And this is right in the Machchhu river. You can see the river there as long as the eye can see. But when it comes to so many, these are people. These are people. All of these are people who had drowned there, who fell in the river, and they were unable to help themselves or even others. So these are the moving pictures that we are getting right after the collapse. And this here, the partially collapsed bridge. These are the cable wires that you can see, and 3 to 4 people here, 1 person here, 3 to 4 persons here, 3 to 4 people here. They are hanging on to their dear lives, holding on to the cable, holding on to whatever comes to their hand so that they can swim to the safety or wait till the time help arrives. So this is the latest pictures there. There you can see majority of the people. This is where the bridge collapse that had happened, and this is where the cable wire that goes as far as when the bridge was starting. So this is the netting. This is the netting as the original footage of the bridge just before the collapse happened. You can see the people were holding on to both sides. Some of them were also jumping and kicking. Some of them were clicking selfies. And it was beyond the capacity. What was being said, around 80 to 100 people were only allowed to be on the bridge at the same time. But it was way beyond capacity. Over 300 people were present on the bridge at the time when the bridge collapse happened. So Times now also visited Jaisukh's office, who is the owner of Ajanta Oreva, the private firm who was responsible for the maintenance of this bridge, but to his farmhouse, and he is nowhere to be found, but he has not even been named in the FIR that has been registered.
While trying to track Jaisukh Patel, we have reached to the headquarters of Oreva, which is in Morbi. This office has been forcefully shut. We spoke to those people in the security personnel. They have also come out with an anger.
I am in Ahmedabad and we are tracking down Jaisukh Patel. Currently where I am is the farmhouse of Jaisukh Patel, and this is in Ahmedabad. But what we can see over here is this farmhouse spread over acres and completely deserted as of now. Nobody can be seen over here, and it has been locked up.
These are the officials of the government of Gujarat who came here for an inspection, but instead of waiting and trying to talk to us, they have left from the spot. So it is quite clear that the government is also has also woken up, and they are trying to gather more evidence against the people who were owning this Oreva company.
We are reporting from the residence of Mr. Jaisukh Patel. He is the owner of Ajanta Oreva, the company that had got the contract. Who is responsible for these innocent lives, the innocent loss of lives? This man is responsible, and that's why we have been trying to track Mr. Jaisukh Patel.
So as far as the owner is concerned, he's on the run. He is nowhere to be located, but he's not been named in the FIR. But there is, as far as on the 26th, when the bridge was reopened to the public, he had been giving a reaction saying that nothing is going to happen to the bridge for the next 8 to 10 years. Kuch nahi hoga is bridge ko. But 4 din baad, we saw how the bridge collapse happened, and he is responsible for the loss of over 30 lives in the tragedy that happened in Gujarat. We'll be back after a short break.